As you can tell from the subject matter, or you'll be able to see in a second, this is a little bit of an older letter. It's from April 2021, but it's a letter that I liked, whether or not I agree with it. It's a letter that I like in terms of how it laid things out and how it communicates the issue. So if you're wondering, well, what does an A letter to the editor look like? This would be an example of an A letter to the editor, and there are several reasons why. First of all, take a look at the formatting. It is using a very professional block format, business letter format. So you can see we're using the single spacing, that we have an extra space between paragraphs. This is where a signature would go if there were to sign the letter. And it's very clear who it is from. It is from Joe Smith. We have a made-up address here. And because this is the digital age, they've included an email address right there, extra space, then the date. You'll also notice here that it's more of a European dating system. MLA, which we'll talk more about it as the class goes on, uses that system. So you'd write 13 April 2021 as opposed to April 13th. Basically, the United States, like so many things with the United States, we are the only ones really who write April 13th, 2021. The rest of the world writes 13 April 2021. So that is actually the more correct way of doing the date for a business letter or for an assignment. I don't think anyone in the business world is going to get upset if you were to write April 13th. And then to who you are sending it to, Eugene Weekly. I realize it seems kind of obvious that's who you're sending it to the person who's getting it, but it is a way of the receiver knowing that it went to the right place. Back in the day when the Register Guard had letters to the editor, we would often get letters that were intended for the Guard about issues meant for the Guard and sort of have to let the writer know. So here we go, dear editor. That's the proper salutation. You write it to the editor in this particular case. If you're applying for a job, you would really try to figure out who exactly you're applying to. Because letters to the editor are really to readers, you just write dear editor. This person has supplied a potential headline and they jump into the letter. Let's go back to a system that works. Oh, okay. That's an interesting, that kind of grabs me, jumps in. Let's hope the temporary measure in Oregon during COVID-19, letting gas stations allow patrons to pump their own gas if employees are not available, is soon over. Okay, so in this particular case, they are not responding to something previous. They're responding to something going on in the news, which was that temporary measure, which, as we now know, is not over because gas stations now do allow people to pump their own gas. But they jump right in. I know exactly what the letter is about. So I've been intrigued by the first line. I know what the letter is about. And then they dive in and they unpack their opinion. Then we can speed up the process and no longer have to wait while people in line ahead of us take their time filling their tanks. Instead, we can go back to nice, efficient employees quickly doing the job, braving the rain and wind while we relax in the comfort of our vehicles. You have no worries about soggy blown hair, smelling of gas on your hands, and having gas dribbles on and nicks in the paint. Just roll down the window an inch, hand out the card, and wipe it off when it comes back. Best of all, employees stay in work and get the dignity of having a job well done. Joe Smith. Okay, whether you agree with Joe or not about gas stations and pumping our own gas, I find Joe fairly persuasive. Then again, I am biased. I actually don't like pumping my own gas, I'm gonna be honest. But I found Joe finally persuasive. He doesn't attack anybody. It's very pleasantly written. The tone is nice, draws me in the first sentence, tells me what the letter's about, gives me sort of a list of reasons why that we should do what it is he's saying we're doing, and then kind of ends with a nice closing sentence. So this is a well-written, very clear. I don't see any typos. There are not places where I have trouble following. One reason I like to read things like letters and articles out loud, usually better when my voice is better, is because reading things out loud helps me catch when there's issues. And I was able to read this really smoothly, where some of the other letters I was sort of staggering over, having trouble figuring out how to muddle my way through the sentence. And instead, this is clearly written, it's cleanly written, and basically this is what your letter to the editor should look like. And this is the type of thing that I am looking for.